All right, it was brought up to me. Some people asked that if I could extend the time that these videos were due till the morning of, till 9 o'clock. I don't have a problem with that. Up until now, it's been up until 8 o'clock, but if that 9 o'clock helps a few students, I'm fine with that. The main thing is I didn't want it running into my first class. So I have no problem with making it 9 o'clock. So this video, hopefully you're watching it sometime on Thursday. But if you're scurrying around trying to get this in before school on Friday, remember that it won't be due until 9 o'clock. All right, I got a couple programs to run through. One I'm going to run through really quick because it's just got a couple points on it that I want to emphasize. And then I'm going to go through nested for loops, and I'm going to slow down when we get to that because it's a headache sometimes going through a nested for loop. All right, we got a soccer program that just adds up the score of a soccer team's games. When the person wants to exit, they enter a -1. They'll just keep looping until -1's entered, and then it'll kick out and do the math, add all the scores up. Alrighty, nothing special up in the header files, just IOStream is all you need for this. All right, it's going to see out, enter the number of points your team has earned so far in the season, enter a -1 when finished. All right, it's going to seed this by seeing out, enter the points for the game. All right, if you enter -1 for this, it won't even get into the for loop or the while loop. I'm sorry, this is it's just a regular while loop. So say we enter, first game was 3 points. So while points does not equal -1, it doesn't. So it's going to enter this loop. And here's the main thing about this program I want you to see. Before we had total plus points equals total. This does the same thing. And I'll even put it out here in the comments. Same as total equals total plus points. So this is the way most programmers actually write it. Total plus equals points. Does the same thing. So as you go through this, it just constantly keeps adding the new total to the number of points entered by the user. Right? Everything else in this program is pretty much what you're used to. I just wanted you to see this. Total plus equals points means the same thing as the code that we used on Wednesday. Total equals basically let's look at it like this. This is old total plus points equals new total. That's what it amounts to. This code here does the exact same thing. Right? This is a while loop, not a for loop. So at the end of it, you're going to enter points. And if the points are, again, positive numbers, it's going to loop through. It'll loop continually until somebody enters a -1 to jump out. So I'll give you an idea of how it looks. Enter the points for game 1. I don't know what's good for soccer. Let's say 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then I'm going to put the negative, on game 7, I'm going to enter -1. It kicks out. It totals the first 6 games, and we end up with a 17. So I'm not telling you have to use this total plus equal points. You can continue to use total equals total plus points, but for the sake of a test, you need to know exactly what that means. Next thing we're going to look at is a nested for loop. That's a for loop inside a for loop. And really, you'll get used to them where it's not that bad. But when you first do this, this is complicated. All right. I wanted to keep it something that you all would understand. So I've got a program here that loops through students and averages their scores. Before, when we did things like any scores, it's just been for one person, certain number, and we add them up. This is going to add the program. This is going to add up for as many students as you want and as many tests as you want. Both are going to be user input. So, like I said, I'm going to go through this slow. I'm using IO manip because I'm going to take in integers, but we're going to have the totals and the average are going to be doubles. All right. First question, we're going to ask the user how many students, and my reply is going to be 3 because I want you to follow me through on this. And then we're going to ask how many tests for each students. Again, I'm going to enter 3. Okay, so make a mental note of that as we start through this. Going to be 3 students, student 1, 2, and 3, and then they're going to have 3 different scores. All right. Here is the nested for loop, right? It goes from here to here. I'm going to walk you through this. Remember, for num students, we entered 3. All right, here's my first for loop, right here. So everything inside this for loop, which is basically inside these 2 brackets here, is going to loop through 3 times. Because I've got student 1, num students 3, so it's going to go through and get student 2, then it's going to get student 3. Right? So, like I said, everything inside here is going to be done 3 times. All right. So now we're just talking about student 1. Student 1, first time through this outer for loop. We're going to go down through here, total equals 0. For int, test equals 1. Okay, we're going to loop through this 3 times because there's 3 tests. And we're going to do the scores. So in here, we're taking on the scores of the 3 tests. Then while we're still on student 1, we're going to get out and we're going to average those tests. And then we're going to print out their average. Okay, we're taking it to get the average of the 3 tests. Then we're going to print out that average. Then we're leaving the for loop and we're returning for student number 2. Then we're going to go and take 3 tests, do the average. We're going to the for loop is going to release it, go back out. Then we're going to do student 3. All right. I'd strongly suggest you all take notes on this. Okay. I think this code you really need to understand and be able to look deep into for some of the programs that we've got coming up. All right. I'm going to run this now. How many students do you have scores? 3. How many tests does each student have? 3. Enter score 1 for score 1 for student 1. All right. I'm going to enter 3 scores, 90, 90, 90. So it does the math, all right? This inner for loop, the inner for loop does all this. Then it releases to the outer for loop and then prints out the 90. Right? Now we're going to go through the whole for loop again. We're going to do this for student 2, and we're talking about the outer for loop. So for this student's not as good. They make an 80, 80, and 80. Okay, one more time. Let's say third is going to be 70, 70, and 70. Right? It's did everything it's supposed to do. It's taken in the score for all 3 tests for all 3 students and printed out an average of all 3. Let's look back at the code real quick. All right. one thing I want you to look deeper into. Here's what I'm going to do on this. I am going to post this code. You all don't have to type this in. You go in and you pull it off of Canvas. I'm going to put it under this date in Canvas. I'm going to post it for you guys. Run this code, walk through it so you understand it. Again, this for loop goes through every student. All right. Then the nested for loop goes through every test. So that means 9 things get covered. Student 1, test 1, student 1, test 2, student 1, test 3, student 2, test 1. So 9 things get covered, but it goes through a nested for loop to do that. All right. Uh, that's about all I've got. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to stop this video. And the first thing I'm going to do is take this code, this .cpp file. I'm going to post it on Canvas. Okay, I'm going to give you all a real bunny question. It's going to be a real easy question. Don't give it much time. Take the time. This video wasn't that long to go in, pull this code down off of Canvas, run this program, and kind of walk through, change some things, mess with this just a little bit. This isn't a long assignment. This video is going to be less than 15 minutes. All right, the question is going to be extremely easy, just to make sure that you all have plenty of time to go in and run this and play with this code. All right, guys, we're going to probably go ahead and start the next graded project on Friday. It's going to be a little more complicated because it's going to be something like this, a nested if statement. So, like I said, come in on Friday. If you get any questions, get with me early.